every business or every entity is required to, I can see from the charts, there are complaints that the slides are not moving. Do all invoices even? So I don't know, guys, it's you to tell me, are you able to see my screen? Are you able to hear me? Because some are asking questions in regards to whatever I'm presenting. Some are saying that the screen is not visible. Some are saying that I'm not able to be heard. So can't see your screen. Continue. Okay, so I'm just requesting my colleague to share from her end so that we might proceed. I'm kindly requesting for 2 minutes so that she can blow up the presentation.
That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you, Mercy, for blowing the presentation. I hope now you guys are in a position to see the presentation. Kindly confirm. Yes, loading. Yes, we can see. Good. That is quite a good number. Now we can proceed with the presentation. So as I was saying, Tax Procedures Act 2015, Section 23A talks about record keeping. Taxpayers are required to keep the records of the transactions that they have conducted within their business for a period of 5 years, even with the electronic tax invoices, the electronic tax registers, the eTIMS devices. You are required to keep those devices for a period of 5 years. If at all you stopped using the devices, still the law requires you to keep the devices for 5 years. In case of any audit queries, you will be required to refer to the ETR devices that you had been using within your business. Then Section 86 talks about the penalties. If you're not compliant with the law in regards to complying or generating the eTIMS or eTIMS invoices, it says that a taxpayer who defiles the law will be penalized, and that is 2 times the tax due. So we also have value added tax, that is the VAT 2013, Section 42 and 43A, that gives a commissioner the mandate that everyone who is doing business is required to generate invoices using the eTIMS or TIMS system. Next slide. So some of the success that we have had within this journey of electronic tax invoicing, we have had the enhanced visibility of taxpayers' transactions. And majorly this is in the informal sector, and that was by us having the various eTIMS solutions such as the eCitizen, the USSD. The taxpayers are able to generate invoices using those platforms, so we are able to have visibility of the transactions done within their business. We have the tax base expansion, so it has expanded to various taxpayers in the informal sector. We have enhanced tax compliance management and enforcement, and that is due to the data that we have had from the taxpayers, the data of the invoice that have been transacted within a business. Then we have increased VAT collection. We can see from the revenue report that we had for the year just that ended in June 2024, there was a revenue growth of 15.3% as compared to the year ended June 2023, that we saw the revenue at 13.4%. So all these revenue growth is as a result of taxpayers onboarding on eTIMS and are able to use the system. Next slide. So some of the challenges that we face with electronic invoicing, we have a lack of smart or electronic devices to support compliance. So we still have taxpayers or other businesses that are not able to conduct their businesses using electronic devices. And this is quite a challenge in their business sector. We have exposure and digital literacy. That is also a challenge that is affecting us. Geographical reach. We have that we realize that there are some of the remote areas whereby taxpayers are unable to even get the information of eTIMS or the law on how the government requires us to conduct our business. So some of these locations, you realize that they proceeded with doing business, but they are not compliant. So the system or the law requires these taxpayers to generate the invoices. And the beauty with our systems are that there are some of the systems that you're able to generate invoices without the internet. So you can generate an invoice without the internet. Then later on, you can transmit that invoice when you have connected it to our internet, or you can just buy bundles to ensure that that invoice that you generated has been transmitted to KRA. Then lastly, we have resistance. So they're just some businesses or taxpayers who are just resistant to change and they do not want to comply with the regulations. Next slide. So the ongoing developments that we have as the Revenue Authority, currently we have Jinais Nari City Legit public campaign. This is something that began on 29th of October and it is supposed to run for 8 weeks. And what taxpayers are required to do is that they need to download an application. It is known as Jinais Nari City Legit app. You download it on your Play Store or App Store. Then what you need to do is to sign up using your ID and your mobile number. Then you log in. Once you have logged in, each and every transaction that you have had, or when you get a TIMS or eTIMS compliant invoice, you're just required to scan that particular invoice. Then you will be awarded one entry point. So if you get an entry point, you stand a chance of winning the weekly prizes that we have. The weekly prizes that we have the cash prizes of up to 10,000, 20,000, even up to 1 million that is available. You can also win a smartphone. we have a laptop and a TV. So we have those weekly prizes, and you can win any of those just by scanning invoices that you have had within a purchase within your business, or that you have gotten within other business transactions. Then we also have the buyer initiated invoicing. This is ideally targeting those businesses who transact with small scale traders, especially farmers. So it's the concept is a kind of a reverse invoicing, whereby the seller initiates, whereby the buyer initiates an invoice on behalf of the seller. So we'll look more into that. Then we also have an invoice, a WhatsApp invoicing, whereby those who are using the AI technology are able to use the WhatsApp invoicing channel to enable them generate eTIMS compliant invoices. We also have the virtual ETR, and this is being done by the payment providers, whereby they are able to ensure that the transactions that have occurred between them, those transactions will be considered as valid invoices. Then lastly, we have eTIMS implementation for the fuel sector. This is also a project that is ongoing. We want to ensure that the fuel sector are fully onboarded onto eTIMS, because we realized that when we introduced TIMS, the fuel sector, yes, they onboarded, but they did not fully onboard. So this time we are trying to ensure that they are fully onboarded and they generate invoices at the point where the fuel attendant returns the fuel nozzle on the dispenser. Next slide. So this is the still on the Genius Nari City Legit. This is a campaign that is ongoing, just as I have said, and you can see we have a chance of 3 winners to win 1 million each. Then we have the weekly prize of up to 20,000. We also have 10,000. We have TVs, laptops, and smartphones. So I'm encouraging you to give it a shot so that you stand a chance of winning these particular prizes from Kenya Revenue Authority. At least we have some good news from us. Then the buyer initiated, just like I had said, it is a solution that has been tailor-made for taxpayers or sectors who are dealing with a large number of suppliers, and especially those who are getting supplies from farmers. So if at all they are having technological challenges as interacting with the device, it is up to the buyer to generate an invoice on their behalf. So what is required of a farmer is just to give consent by approving a text message that will come on their phone. They just need to approve it or reject it if they do not agree with that transaction. So it is something that is being done between two individuals who are doing business. It is something that is up and running and can be accessed on eCitizen or the USSD *222#. So this is just a process of how the buyer initiated invoicing works. It starts by the taxpayer or the farmer logging into the eCitizen platform, whereby they will proceed and follow the steps of buyer initiated. They thereon enter the details of the items that they need to sell, the amount, the unit price, after which they will have to, the system will validate those particular details that they have entered. Then they will submit. Upon submitting that request, it will be sent to the farmer, whereby that is the point whereby they will get the consent notification. So if they agree with the transactional information, they will approve it. In a case where they do not agree with the transactional information, they will have to reject that consent notification. Next slide. This is just a rejection process. Just like I've said, they can either approve or reject. Then this is the WhatsApp invoicing channel that we have. So businesses can register using the mobile number that has been given out. That is the KRA mobile number. And we are trying to, just like I said earlier, we are trying to custom make or to tailor make these solutions to ensure that they fit each and every business entities outside there. So if there's a business entity that prefers using the WhatsApp invoicing, then we have a solution for them. And the major aim or the benefit of the WhatsApp invoicing to the Kenya Revenue Authority is that it simplifies the tax processes and it reduces on tax evasion. And lastly, it boosts voluntary tax compliance, whereby a taxpayer can just onboard by themselves on the WhatsApp invoicing. So this is something that has not been rolled out. It is still a work in progress, and luckily, we are hoping to roll it out in January 2025. So once it will be rolled out, we will communicate to the taxpayers using the public notification that it is up and running, and the taxpayers can now give it a try. So for the virtual ETR, just like I had said, it is for payment service providers such as the banks, the telcos. So is just to ensure that the financial transaction that has been received or has been conducted within a business, that information that you'll get, for example, if you have done your transaction with a pay bill or a till, the message that you will get, that will be valid to be used as a valid invoice. So the business impact of this is the promotion of fair business environment, the tax-based expansion, compliance, then it increases revenue. Next slide. Also, this is on fuel sector, just like I had mentioned. We're trying to ensure that the fuel sector get fully onboarded on eTIMS, whereby as of the time the fuel attendant will be returning the fuel nozzle on the dispenser, that will be the trigger for the eTIMS invoice. So as well, this is a work in progress. And once we have finalized on it, we will also communicate to the relevant sector through a public notice. Next slide. Yeah, so the contact you're seeing on the slide, these are our contact numbers. You can reach us through any of them. We are located at JFAT Towers, Kenyatta Avenue, 7th floor and 8th floor. There is where you will find us. And for more information, or if you'd wish to send us an email, you can use our email address, that is teamsupport, a single S, at kra.go.ke. Next slide. Okay, thank you so much. That was my time. And I'd like to really thank you and appreciate you for your time during the eTIMS presentation. So I'll now like to welcome the questions so that we can address them. My colleague Maslin was also on the chat box responding to the questions that were raised during the presentation. So over to you, Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. That was an interactive and an educative session. We have really learned a lot from you guys from eTIMS. Now I can see some questions from our chat box, and I can just read some so that you can respond to them. And the first question is, can a business that pays commissions to over 100 different businesses and entities do reverse invoicing? Evelyn, can you hear me?
Can they come up again? Sorry for that.
The first question is, can a business that pays commissions to over 100 different business entities do reverse invoicing?
Thank you, Beatrice, for that. Yes, reverse invoicing is applicable to them, and it is just a matter of agreement between them and their agents. So that is something that they'll first of all have to sit down, discuss, and come to an agreement with that. Then we can facilitate them to ensure that they onboard and generate the valid invoices when they are paying the commissions. Next question.
The next one is, what if you are using eTIMS online for TOT? Which device do you keep, or how do you keep records for non-VAT?
Okay, thank you for that question. Something that I'd like the business entities or the taxpayers in business field to know is that when you're using our systems, either Teams or eTIMS, get rest assured that your transactional data will be stored within the system. So if you log in from whichever device using your credentials, that is the PIN and the password, you will be able to get your transactional information stored within the eTIMS systems. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer, Madam Aoko. Another question is, why is it impossible to claim inputs VAT on invoices that are past 6 months, yet you can remit outputs from the same period, even though this was initiated by KRA special table process? Sorry for that. Another question is, kindly clarify eTIMS and TIMS.
Okay, so something that I'd like to make emphasis on is that TIMS and eTIMS are invoicing systems and they aim at a particular goal, the same goal. So first, we began by TIMS, which is Tax Invoice Management System, and it was a device-based. That is to mean that taxpayers were required to buy the ETR device that would enable them generate the valid invoices, whereas eTIMS is an electronic tax invoicing management system. It is a software-based. Taxpayers are not required to purchase any device when they are onboarding on eTIMS. They could be having different devices. That is to mean that they could be having smartphones, they could be having PDAs, they could be having laptops, desktops. So it is that device that we are going to use to onboard this taxpayer on board. So the major difference is that Teams is a device based, whereas eTIMS is a software based, but the goal is the same. They are all invoicing solutions. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Someone is asking, can one do both eTIMS and TIMS?
The system will not even allow you to generate both invoices or to onboard both systems at the same time. What happens is if you're already onboarded on Teams, you will continue generating your invoices as usual, unless you wish to move to eTIMS. So if you wish to move to eTIMS, you will be required to deactivate the ETR, then you move to eTIMS. But you are not required to use two systems at the same time. Remember, I have just said that the goal for these two invoicing solutions is the same, to generate valid invoices. We accept Teams invoices. We also accept eTeams invoices. So there is no need of generating invoices from both systems. And if at all you do that, what will that mean to us? That will mean to us that you will pay the tax due twice. So you'd rather stick to the compliant invoicing solution that you're currently having. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Evelyn. Someone is asking, if please share the slides or advice where we can get them.
Okay, on the slides, I will organize with the team that was responsible for organizing this engagement. Then they will share the presentation with you. So what you need to do is just to share your email address so that they can reach out to you with a presentation. Thank you. Okay, I can see Grace is asking, can a taxpayer upgrade from eTIMS to TIMS? So Grace, we began with TIMS, then we moved to eTIMS. But the thing is, at the moment, the system has been locked in such a way that you cannot purchase the Teams devices. Normally, with Teams, there is something known as the email token. So that is something known as ideally when you receive the email token, it is you're accepting that communication will be done between the KRA servers and that uh, Teams device. So at the moment, our system, the email token on the system has been deactivated. So you cannot move from eTeams to Teams. You can only move from Teams to eTeams, but you cannot move from eTeams to Teams. Thank you. So Enoch is asking, where is the Enoch? Enoch is asking, when doing system to system integration, why do we need to do stock management and sending products to eTeams? Why can't we just do the sale on API? Enoch, on that, I would like to pick that off air with you so that we can engage deeper on the integration section on that. Kindly share your details so that we'll pick that off air and proceed with onboarding you through system to system. Kindly explain more about WhatsApp invoicing tafadhali. I'd like to invite my colleague Maslin, to elaborate more on WhatsApp invoicing. Mercy?
Hi, team. I hope you can see the slide on WhatsApp invoicing. This is a solution which we are hoping to roll out by January 2025, which will support those taxpayers who are not registered for VAT. And for you to use this one, you will need to channel your message to this number 0711 099. Then from there, it will act like a bot. It will ask you what you need next. You feed the details of whatever invoice you want to generate, the details of the client, the details of the invoice. You will be like chatting with someone, like the one for Safaricom. So up to the end, you finish on generating your invoice, putting your quantity, the amount, then you submit. Then the invoice will be generated and you can share with your client. Thank you. Back to you, Eve.
Yes, thank you, Mercy, for that. I'm just trying to go through the chat books to have a look at some of the questions that we haven't responded to. Okay, there is a question from Cynthia Cherotich. Will expenses that are not eTIMS supported be allowable for income tax deductions come next year, especially for minor expenses such as transport using a boda boda or matatu where they are not able to raise eTIMS invoices? So, Cynthia, according to the Income Tax Act, Section 16(1)(c), it was stating that for any expenditure or expenses within the business, they should be supported by an eTIMS invoice. It does not matter how small it is, because when you're going to file your returns, remember you will be taxed on all the profit that you have made. So no matter how small it is, I don't know how you define small, no matter how small it is, it should have an eTIMS invoice. I remember some days ago, I served a taxpayer who came to me and he was being paid 500 bob a day. And he was very much frustrated because he wanted an eTIMS invoice, and without an eTIMS invoice, that taxpayer was not going to be paid. So I had to generate an invoice for him for 2 days to ensure that he has been paid. So his payment, that is an expense for a business going outside. So they're not going to claim that expense if whoever they are paying has not issued them with an eTIMS invoice. So I don't know how small is the small that you're referring to, but for any expense, an eTIMS invoice must be provided. Thank you. Okay, kindly share the slide. Mercy, kindly capture the email address of those who are requesting for the slides.
Noted.
Evelyn, I've sent a link for the recording so they can go through.
Okay,
The
that
link is
is
in the chat box.
all right. So
Yeah.
they can as well pick the link to the recording of this presentation. As an individual accountant, how can I register eTIMS and how do I invoice? Do you have videos for the same? Nizar, invoicing as an accountant is quite easy. That is something that I can confidently say that is super easy, and it can take you a maximum of 5 minutes. Yes, we have our information available on KRA website on how to onboard, and for your case, you will onboard online solution. So we have information available for you on our KRA website as well. You can reach out to us through our email address, or you can make a phone call to us as well. If you wish, you can visit us at J Quad Towers, Kenyatta Avenue, 7th floor or 8th floor, or you can visit any KRA office near you and you can be assisted. So you have all those options, and this is something that I can assure you for sure it is easy and you can onboard yourself on online portal for your case. There's a question from James Njuguna. Njuguna is asking, how do you treat services by Joakali mechanics and riders who are not registered? So, James, just like I had mentioned earlier, when we were rolling out eTIMS in September 2023, we were targeting all businesses who are not registered for VAT. And that is to mean that everyone who is in a business sector is required to onboard on eTIMS and generate invoices. So the Joakali mechanics or the riders, that is why we are coming up with various solutions to uh, ensure that they are able to generate invoices using these particular invoicing systems that has been custom made for them. For example, if we look at the WhatsApp invoicing that my colleague has just talked about, it is something that you just send a message to that particular number and you will get response. If you want to generate an eTIMS invoice, it will guide you. You just need to type whatever you want, then you will get a response. That it is as easy as that. So the mechanics and the riders will be required, all will be required to generate the invoices. Let me look for the next questions. Okay, Mercy, thank you for responding to that question. Please, could you mention or share those who are exempted from issuing TIMS compliant? Okay, so if you refer to the regulations, that is the Tax Procedures Act 2015, that talks about the tax invoice management system regulations. We have some of the exemptions, yes, and you can refer to them. But just to mention, we have payee has been exempted. We have commissions or interests from financial banks that has also been exempted. We have the air ticketing has been exempted. The importation and exportation of goods and services that has been capped in the customs VAT section. So for more clarification on the same, you can refer to the Tax Procedures Act, eTIMS Regulations 2024. James Regina is also asking restaurant where one spend on entertainment. So James, so long as you can, verify or you are able to prove that the entertainment or the money that you're paying on entertainment is part of the business expense, then you will be required to have an eTIMS invoice to support that particular expense. Without the eTIMS invoice, then you will not be able to deduct the entertainment expense that you shall have spent. Okay, Nizar is asking, in the medical sector, giving discounts to medical bills, can someone issue a partial credit note? Yes, Nizar, you're able to issue a partial credit note. The solutions that we have allow for the partial credit note. They would allow for the full credit note. But my advice is, if you are generating a credit note, please do a full credit note, because the system only allows you do credit note once. So if you do a partial credit note and you realize that there's still a mistake within that invoice, then you will not be able to do a further credit note. So my advice is you do a full credit note to generate a fresh invoice with the amendments that you'd like to make to that invoice. Brian is asking, I would like assistance on how to file VAT auto-populated returns, more so onto the file extraction point of filing. Thanks in advance. Brian, I would advise you to visit your tax station or the nearest KRA office near you for assistance on the same. Could you kindly share the slides? Grace is asking, issuing credit notes with an eTIMS device, what do you do if the invoice does not go through? Mercy, could you kindly respond to that? Respond to Grace, who is asking, while you're issuing credit notes with an eTIMS device, what do you do if the invoice does not go through? Mercy?
Hi, Grace. I had responded to the question asking for clarification. What do you mean when you say the invoice does not go through? Kindly clarify so that we can address your question.
Thank you, Mercy, if you had responded to that. Grace, just come up once again, or you can as well raise your hand. We give you a chance so that you can clarify onto your issue. Then, Mercy, there is a question from Steven or Stegen. Okay, he's saying the eTIMS PayPoint Windows keeps on asking to upgrade to new version 0158. When you download, the latest version is still new 10138. Which one works when internet is off? Mercy?
Thank you, Eve. Have responded to that query by sharing the link on how to upgrade to 158 version. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy. I wasn't aware that you were responding to almost all of them. Then, dear Evelyn, kindly share all slides too. Hadi Kavarana. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We have captured the email address and we will share that. Can you switch from eTIMS to Teams? I had responded that you can only switch from Teams to eTIMS and not vice versa. Mercy, there's also a question from Levi. So we updated our eTIMS during the month of April. For payments made before that, we have difficulty backdating the invoices. Over to you, Mercy.
Thank you for the question. Currently, with eTIMS client, you cannot backdate the invoices. They will pick the date when you generate the invoice, so you cannot backdate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy, for that. You've said you cannot backdate the invoices. The invoices can only be generated for that particular day that you log into the system and you generate your invoices.
If Grace is saying that she's unable to raise the hand.
Okay, Margaret, sorry, Beatrice, could you just unmute Grace so that she can clarify on her question? And just as Beatrice is assisting Grace to unmute, there is a question from Dennis asking, are the foreign companies required to register with eTIMS? No, foreign companies are not required to register with companies unless the company has a local presence in Kenya. That is when they will be required to register for eTIMS. But for more clarification, Dennis, on that, kindly refer to the regulations on electronic invoicing. That is Tax Procedures Act 2024.
We have a question from Lucy who is asking internal error 500. What does it mean? Lucy, this means that the invoice you're trying to verify has not transmitted to KRA. So either you are not connected to internet or your internet was not stable, or if you're using a client, you're using the unupdated one. So the invoice has not transmitted. Thank you. We have a question from Daniel Kamau who is asking whether you can generate credit note on eTIMS. Yes, you can. All our eTIMS systems have the option of credit note, either full or partial credit note, but we advocate for the full credit note so that you can generate the invoice afresh.
There's a question from Ken Kipngeno. Kipngeno is asking, what is KRA doing to enable citizens with auto-generated eTIMS? Every time we do Pochi or pay bill or till number, M-Pesa payments to assist organizations in accounting the small daily expenses without need to ask the seller for the eTIMS receipts. Okay, now, like we mentioned earlier, we have the virtual ETR that is a development within our end, and this is something that we are working hand in hand with the payment for providers. So once it has been completed, we will notify the public and the relevant taxpayers on its rollout. So this is something that will be utilized by organizations who are using the daily expenditure when the daily expenditure that they incur within their businesses. James Rotich is saying, Evelyn, update us on tea farmers onboarding eTIMS. So what I know is that there has been engagements with the tea farmers on how to onboard eTIMS, but so far it hasn't been a complete engagement because we keep on moving in bits. But once they have fully onboarded, we will be able to give a full uh, comment on that. So for now, it is still a work in progress. Uh, um, Alvin is asking, does eTIMS require monthly VAT filing once onboarded? Alvin, something I'd like to really make clear is that eTIMS is just an invoicing solution. Just the same way you go to the supermarket and you have your invoice. If you don't need it, you will trash it in the dustbin. So that is what we're trying to encourage. We're just trying to bring back the culture for requesting for receipts each time you make a purchase or each time you have transactions within your business. So we're just trying to encourage the business entities to be providing or to be issuing the digital receipts. And those are the compliant receipts, which are either TIMS or eTIMS receipts. But in a case where you provide an eTIMS or TIMS receipt and you are registered for VAT, then you will be required to file for VAT for that particular transaction. So it is the VAT obligation that is compelling you to file for VAT, but not eTIMS. eTIMS invoice is an evidence of transaction that has been made. I hope that was clear. James again is asking, is eTIMS, where is James' question? It has disappeared. Does eTIMS, sorry. I don't know, James' question as the, okay, I found it. Is the eTIMS invoice valid without one's PIN number? So James, something that I'd like to also clarify is that it is optional to provide your PIN number. Still, I will use the example of a supermarket. As well, if you go to the supermarket to buy your milk and bread, you will not issue your PIN. But if you are purchasing those items for the business, you will have to issue the business PIN, because those products are going to be used for continuity of your business and it is not for an individual use. So if it is for an individual use, you do not need to provide your KRA PIN. It is completely optional, and to those who are going to claim input VAT are those who are required to issue their KRA PIN. But in an instance where you forget to issue your KRA PIN and you have been issued with a TIMS or an eTIMS invoice, then you have up to 6 months to go back to whoever you did business with to do a credit note and issue you with an invoice that your PIN has been captured in. Sue is asking, please guide on where we can get a tutorial on onboarding and raising an invoice from the KRA website. Wow. So once you have visited our website, there's a section for eTIMS. You just click on the eTIMS menu and you will get all the information. As well, you can visit the YouTube. We have the KRA TV where you will get the tutorials, the videos explaining on how to onboard and generate the invoices. Evans is asking, is it possible to amend a transaction in eTIMS if you have made a mistake on the invoice? Over to you, Mercy. Evans is asking, is it possible to amend a transaction in eTIMS if you have made a mistake on the invoice? Mercy?
Thank you for the question. Evans, kindly note that if you make any mistake while generating an invoice, there is the option of credit note, whereby you can cancel the invoice or amend by the option of partial credit note, or just cancel the whole invoice, then regenerate afresh with the correct details. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mercy, for that. Helen is asking, will charity and donations to NGOs be allowable expenses since these institutions are not in business? So for the NGOs, we are quite aware that those are just donations, and they are not required to have an eTIMS or TIMS invoices. But in a case where an NGO has a side business, where you can find that they are having maybe a mini restaurant, or they are having rooms for walk-in clients who wish to make a booking and have an accommodation. For such kind of side hustles, they will be required to generate invoices and also onboard on eTIPS. But for the donations and the grants, we are quite aware of that, and they are not expected to generate invoices on donations. I hope, Ellen, that was clear. Matthew, I'd like you to respond to Charity. She's asking if nature of service being invoiced is not in the drop down list of services. What service description do you select, Mercy?
Sorry, come up with the question again.
Okay, the question is from Charity, and she's asking if nature of service being invoiced is not in the drop down list of services. What service description do you select?
Is it the online or e-client solution? But all in all, when you're registering a new item, you will need, there is a place where you will type the name of the item or service you're generating the invoice for, but under the class code, if you cannot get the exact item name, you select the class code which is nearer to what you're selling. You don't need to have the specific item or service name under the class code, but under the item name, now you will specify on the service or item you're selling. Thank you. I hope you am clear on your question.
Thank you, Mercy. That was quite clear. So something just to emphasize on that is that Charity, the item that you will write, whatever service you're going to write to us, that is whatever is going to be captured on the invoice itself. So do not get worried if at all you do not find the service has not been listed in the dropdown. It is whatever you're going to type to us that will be captured on the invoice that you will generate.
I have a question from Srijin, who is asking whether you can claim an input if the supplier didn't capture your PIN. Kindly note that if your PIN is not captured during the time of the transaction, you cannot claim that input. Your PIN has to be captured by the supplier for you to be able to claim the input. Thank you.
Mercy, Jack Nyamwanya is saying, kindly repeat the slide on the trading with farmers. Could you kindly just populate that slide so that we can elaborate more on it?
The one for buyer initiated.
Yes, Mercy.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. So for this solution, the buyer is the one who will generate the invoice on behalf of the seller. You as the seller, you will give the consent to the invoice which has been rejected, whereby you can approve or reject via USSD, that is *222#. If you approve, that means that you are in consent with your buyer. If you reject, it means that the invoice will not be generated. So ideally, this is a solution for those who are maybe technologically challenged, whereby you cannot invoice your buyer, the buyer will invoice on your behalf. Am I clear? Okay, thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Mercy, for that response. So, for the interest of time, I'd like to appreciate you all. And for the questions that you feel haven't been responded to, we are going to compile the questions and respond to them thereafter. The responses will be shared to you through the relevant office that called upon this engagement. Thank you so much for your time. I'd like to invite Beatrice to give her final remarks. And before I invite her, I'd like to invite Mercy to give her final comment.
Hi, everyone. We are so grateful for your time, for availing yourself to this engagement. And we hope that in future we will have you. If you feel that we've not responded to your queries, we will compile them and then respond. You can always reach to us. We are located at Jikwat Towers along Kenyatta Avenue, 7th and 8th floor. You can as well send a mail. Our email is teamsupport@kra.go.ke. Team support is single S, and we will always address your issues. Thank you. Before I go, there's someone who is saying that they have a burning question. Wilfred Alambo, maybe you can share your question.
Thank you very much, Evelyn and Maslin. We really do appreciate your time and giving us that interactive and educative session. We really do appreciate that. To our taxpayers, thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have learned a lot. And I want to wish you a blessed afternoon. And also you can reach us through YouTube. You can reach us through KRA TV. Our website is kratv.go.ke. Enjoy your afternoon.